Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. This is a special episode, and this will be the second special episode where I'll be doing three prehistoric animals. Okay, three prehistoric animals. And so, we're actually going to talk about two dinosaurs. Both of them are from Argentina. And then the other prehistoric animal will actually be a basal archosaur. So that'll be pretty cool. So we'll actually start with, we'll just go in alphabetical order by their name, by the letter of their name. And basically, the first one is Argentinosaurus. Now, Argentinosaurus in Greek or Latin means Argentina lizard or reptile. It could actually grow pretty close to 100 feet long, possibly could actually have weighed up to 100 tons. So this would have been one of the heaviest dinosaurs that have ever lived. Lived in the Middle Cretaceous around 110 to 95 million years ago. And of course, it's a sauropod, and basically it is a herbivore, basically. All sauropods are basically herbivores. Now, I would think that probably with Argentinosaurus, that basically with its size, is that it ate a lot of plants. So basically, with this type of body shape, it would actually have probably have eaten like tens of thousands, probably almost 1,000 pounds of food, probably per week. And that's outstanding to actually think about that, you know, because this dinosaur would actually been like eating a lot of plants for its body size. Now, when it was discovered around 1981, this dinosaur was actually considered to be the largest dinosaur to ever be discovered. And what it means to be the largest dinosaur to ever be discovered, you actually have to have a skeleton that is, or otherwise fossil bones that are actually really massive compared to other sauropods. Sauropods were actually the largest land animals to have ever lived. And so with Argentinosaurus, found in Argentina and South America, and basically Rodolfo Coria, a paleontologist in Argentina who actually helped discover this animal, he actually coined the name Argentinosaurus because basically he loved his country, Argentina, and basically he actually named the dinosaur after the country Argentina. And think of a large country, and basically that's how it kind of came to be Argentinosaurus. Now the thigh bones, the femur of Argentinosaurus would actually be really tall. It's actually taller than I am, and I'm 6'2", and basically this thing is probably, its femur is pretty much almost 7 feet, and that's pretty outstanding. So basically think about this: Shaquille O'Neal would actually be as tall as this thing, and would be as tall as the femur or the thigh bone of Argentinosaurus. Now the vertebrae of Argentinosaurus are large, humongous, and so this thing was just like massive, and I wouldn't be surprised with all the muscle mass that it actually has. It would have been one of the strongest sauropods to have ever lived. Now, Argentinosaurus is actually a titanosaur, a group of sauropods that actually lived around the Cretaceous period. So basically, with Argentinosaurus living in the Cretaceous period, did not actually live in the Jurassic like most sauropods did. So basically, it actually lived a little bit after the sauropod's prime. So that would actually just be just pretty much just right around that time where sauropods were in decline. So that would actually be pretty outstanding. Now, Argentinosaurus's numbers would actually be very small. Now, they would actually be living in they would probably be living in small herds. So you wouldn't be surprised to probably see ages 10 years old all the way up to maybe 100 years old living in the herd. Now, with Argentinosaurus, probably took almost 4 decades, 40 years to actually reach its mature size, and that is outstanding to actually think about that. And of course, it is prey, and so basically the few dinosaurs that actually considered Argentinosaurus as prey would actually be Mapusaurus and Giganotosaurus. These dinosaurs were actually the biggest they were actually the biggest theropods during this time. Now, with Giganotosaurus being slightly larger, it could probably actually take on juvenile Argentinosaurus a little bit more than what Mapusaurus could. But Mapusaurus could go after juveniles pretty well as well. But Mapusaurus has been known to actually been found in multiple groups, basically in multiple individuals found, especially with one site found in Argentina, to consider it as proof that they probably did hunt or live in a group or in a pack. But even though we can't really prove that they actually did hunt in packs, but even though it probably did for survival reasons, probably for to stay close, basically to communication of the family members, and also to actually survive, to actually catch larger prey. And so that would actually be those types of things to actually consider about that. Now, the extinction of Argentinosaurus is basically this. Climate change actually happened, and also one reason is this. Plant life actually changed. And so this actually caused Argentinosaurus to actually realize that didn't have that much food, but with all sauropods, very small brain, not very smart animals, so basically they couldn't adapt quick enough to actually survive a lot longer, to actually be around further in time after 95 million years ago. And basically, with rising sea levels, couldn't actually survive very long. Now, the sea levels didn't get all the way into Argentina. It actually probably got really close. There was almost an inland sea that actually came into South America, but it didn't split South America. It actually kind of like came right, kind of almost through Brazil and almost kind of like near the top part of Argentina. So it didn't really actually get all the way down to Argentina, but even though climate change actually was the catalyst for Argentinosaurus' extinction. Now, the next dinosaur that is actually also from Argentina, but we're going further back into the Triassic, and it is Eoraptor. Now, Eoraptor means dawn thief, or dawn thief. Basically, I like to say that because I think it's a pretty cool thing to actually say of its meaning in Greek or Latin. Would have actually have been 3 feet long. Would actually have been 3 to 4 feet long. Lived in the Triassic during 230 million years ago, and it would actually probably have weighed pretty close, probably in the hundreds of pounds. Probably not. Like, I would say 100 pounds. 100 pounds would actually be the better choice. And of course, Eoraptor is a carnivore. Now, Eoraptor is actually considered to be the first ever dinosaur in time, in terms of time, basically. And basically with the Eoraptor, it's actually considered to be a very primitive dinosaur, and that's the reason why it's considered to be a primitive, or otherwise the first dinosaur. It shows primitive features, basically the link between reptiles that are kind of actually starting to actually branch off to actually become dinosaurs and possibly basically birds. Now, this kind of lineage is actually archosaurs. Now, archosaurs do actually are actually the descendant of dinosaurs. And so these would actually have been the ancestors of dinosaurs. But even though With Eoraptor's case, it has archosaur features, but even though it's actually kind of branched off and towards the dinosaurs, and that's why it's in the theropod family group. Now, Eoraptor would actually have been really closely related to the theropods, and basically like Herrerasaurus, and it is actually a theropod. Now, Herrerasaurus kind of actually evolved a tad bit later than Eoraptor, but even though they nearly lived in the same time, so if you see like things like Herrerasaurus is the first dinosaur, that's not true. Eoraptor is actually probably like a 500,000 years older than Herrerasaurus. And so, Eoraptor, it's a very small dinosaur, so it's not really a large dinosaur. Dinosaurs didn't start getting big until the Jurassic. And so dinosaurs were small in the Triassic. They were actually small. They were not really top predators. They weren't the main cast of herbivores that we actually think in the Mesozoic. Basically, they were actually hunting down like small reptiles, small mammal-like reptiles, insects, and some amphibians. So it would actually be going after those kinds of things. Basically, what Eoraptor would actually be doing. Now, Eoraptor is actually found in a site in Argentina called Valley of the Moon. And you see, this is actually Triassic-based rocks. And around Eoraptor, you actually have like strange reptiles. You actually have reptiles that have like these like tusks that are starting to come out of its cheekbones, and you actually have reptiles that are sort of bizarre. It actually basically Eoraptor lived in a time where reptiles were so bizarre we would not actually think like these things were reptiles. We would think they were like mix of like birds, mammals, and reptiles. And so this would actually be really strange environment. And it probably did live in the forested areas. Eoraptor probably lived in the forested areas for safety and also for prey. It actually probably hunted prey that was actually living in the forest. It probably wouldn't be going out in the open plains very much. It would actually probably be going out to the open plains and probably in search of water if it actually had to. And so if it was out in the open, it would actually be exposed to other predators like Prehistoric. Prehistoric was actually the top predator in South America, and basically part of Pangea during this time. Now, during this time of the Triassic, Pangea was still connected, and so this was actually a time where all the continents were joined together in this supercontinent called Pangea. And so in South America during this time would actually have been kind of very jungle-like deciduous forest to open plain type of areas. But even though Eoraptor probably lived in the forest a little bit more. Now, there could be an idea that Eoraptor probably did have feathers. We can actually say that with the dinosaurs, theropod dinosaurs with feathers, some of them did have feathers earlier on. So basically, feathers probably actually began to an archosaur that probably did have feathers. So it wouldn't actually be surprising to actually see this. Now, probably Eoraptor probably had more like quill-like feathers. It probably didn't have like the full plumage feathers like the dromaeosaurs or the troodonts or even modern birds actually do. They actually probably just have like the quill type of feathers, basically these hollow like tube-like structures that would probably be brightly colored. And probably think of like Eoraptor having like these bright colors for like males. Males would actually be very brightly colored. Now, in the Discovery Channel documentary series Dinosaur Revolution, and then pretty much made into the movie called Dinotopia, or it was Dinotasia, you actually see Eoraptor in the Triassic where it actually has like these tail feathers. And they said that the females actually advertised to the males. But even though, I wouldn't be surprised by that, but even though the males would still be brightly colored. And so that would actually be the more logic type of explanation. And of course, with Eoraptor's extinction, it's basically climate change, and pretty much the predators actually got more sophisticated with the Archosaur predators. Sophisticated enough that pretty much you actually are looking at animals that probably are are probably actually getting towards the dinosaur lineage, but even though look more crocodilian-like. So you really are actually gonna be looking at like animals like Postosuchus and all these sorts of crazy looking animals, as you would say, to actually find out what it should be like in that time. And so Eoraptor couldn't actually survive very long in this kind of time, and basically smaller brain, and also it couldn't really adapt very quick enough to actually survive those kinds of changes in the Triassic. Now we'll actually go a little bit forward in the Triassic, near the end of the Triassic. We're going to talk about this basal archosaur called Smok. Now, Smok means in Polish dragon, and can you imagine that? It's Polish. Can you believe that? And I do have Polish lineage, and so basically it's kind of cool to actually think like there is a prehistoric animal that is actually Polish. And of course it's found in Poland, lived in the late Triassic, 205 to 200 million years ago, pretty much at the end of the Triassic. And it'll probably be about 20 feet long, probably weighed a ton, and of course it's a carnivore. Most basal archosaurs are carnivores, so pretty much they will actually be eating meat. Now, Smok is actually considered to be one of the largest archosaurs ever found. And so I really don't know a lot about this animal, but even though I kind of actually did a little bit of research, and it's kind of pretty interesting. Now, what the story is with this find is basically, at first, Polish paleontologists thought this was actually a dinosaur because it actually kind of almost had the theropod type of teeth and also the theropod type of body, but very little was found. But then it was later on that they actually discovered that this wasn't really a dinosaur, it's actually a basal archosaur. And so Smok could probably stand on its hind legs, had medium-sized arms, but it has long legs, long back legs. So pretty much it would actually be walking on two legs a little bit more, probably for running and probably catching its prey like that. But even though it's actually still up in the air, basically if it actually was quadrupedal or always bipedal. Quadrupedal meaning 4 legs, bipedal meaning 2 legs, but it's probably mostly going to be bipedal. Now, I really don't know what the prey animals would actually be for this animal. I'm pretty sure it would actually probably catch some dinosaurs, small dinosaurs. Probably dinosaurs are probably like Styracosaurus-sized type of dinosaurs. And of course, it lived at the end of the Triassic, so it probably did actually witness the Triassic extinction. So it probably did actually see the volcanic activity that actually created the Atlantic Ocean, and pretty much kind of see like the changes in the environment and all that sorts of stuff. Smok is pretty powerful, but even though it could not adapt quick enough from the extinction, and also it probably couldn't actually survive very long after the extinction. And that's why dinosaurs became so successful. It's because they were able to adapt to different kinds of changes into the environment. And so once the temperatures kind of climbed up a little bit, you actually kind of see like the dinosaurs were actually like spreading like crazy. So they were actually like multiplying in different parts of the continents, and this is when Pangea was breaking up, and so that's when things started to unravel for like the Archosaurian type of animals that actually couldn't survive very long. It's because you see they actually had a very restricted lung system. and it's called carrier's constraint. And what carrier's constraint is basically, this happens in reptiles. If you have a backbone that moves side to side, basically if your back is moving side to side, it actually puts too much pressure on the lungs. And basically, if you move, like say if your backbone is moving, shifting towards your right lung is actually being compressed. And then basically if you basically move to the left side, the left lung gets compressed. And so the air is actually being pushed out of the lungs mechanically, not really functionally efficient. So that's why carrier's constraint is not really that great in terms of a respiratory system. That's why us mammals, we actually have a diaphragm. That's because we can control our breathing. And dinosaurs actually had the bird type of lungs, where basically they actually had the multiple air sacs, and that's why they can actually get more oxygen into their lungs and also into the blood. Whereas these kinds of reptiles could not hold on to oxygen much long enough, and also the oxygen levels kind of dropped in the late Triassic, and so that actually kind of put things in a really bad position for these types of archosaurs. And so hopefully there can be more to be found for Smok. I'm pretty sure Smok would actually be. I think there could be more fossils out there for Smok. Could be found a little bit more in Eastern Europe. Hopefully we can find some more, and that would actually be pretty cool to actually find out what this animal really been like. And basically, extinction of this animal is basically the Triassic extinction, and then basically it could not survive after the Triassic extinction. All right. Excuse me, and that's it for now. Now, the next week will actually be an answering questions episode. So if you got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochrist71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions in the comments section on any Facebook post. But remember, keep your questions short and to the point. Don't use the messenger. I can't read your questions in the messenger. And also you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRILL. That's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. And also you can take care of the people around you. And also for your younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for good education. It's very important to have a good education. So with good education, you get a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now. And tomorrow I'm going to go see the Batman vs. Superman movie. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm a big Batman fan, so basically like to see Batman kind of kick some butt. And so basically, and I love Batman. Basically, I think he's a cooler superhero than Superman is. I know there are some of you are Superman fans that say Superman's got everything, he's a stronger guy, and he'll beat Batman all day. I'd say yes, but also it's just that Batman a little more intelligent. And so that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.